I've been known to go to San Antonio for a taco on a random afternoon. So like, it's only 3 hours and there's 2 Buc-ee's between here and there. So I will go. Yeah.
When I book a flight out there, I'll let you know because we will have to meet up for sure.
I love it. I'm going to check. I always do this to make sure of our lives, but I'm going to check to make sure we're live. But yes, I support the taco situation. Okay, Kate. Okay, good. We're live. Everybody's pleased, I believe.
Everyone, if they're not, they will be because we're cute and fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. What is
it? Says
okay?
Live. Hang on. This is my least favorite part of anything. It's just okay, great. Oh, good. Yay, we show up. We exist.
Perfect.
All right, kids. This is where we're at. So, Bailee, talk to me. What is it that you do other than come in here for tacos? This is like, I will tell you, this is my least favorite thing is when I go to visit other people. And they're like, let me take you out for barbecue. And I'm like, nope, we invented barbecue. Let me take you out for tacos. I'm from northern Mexico. The answer is no. So just, I'm like, let me go eat whatever you're good at, which is great. Like, but the place you took me when we went was very good. And I think it was Mexican food.
Yeah, it was. And that was the first time I'd ever had it too.
It was amazing. Awesome. I was like, all right, I'll accept it. I need to like expand a little bit on the like Mexican food definition. But yes, like, no, you got to come to me, everybody. It's fine.
I will be coming to you, and we have a long list of restaurants to try.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, we do. In fact, Michelin Star was just here for the first time in Houston, and like they opened Texas as a region. And so like I was so pleased to see most of the restaurants I go to regularly are on the Michelin Star list. I was like, we have taste.
That just confirms that you're doing it right.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. I was like, should I go work for Michelin Star? Is that my next career thing?
I think most likely. You would do so good, and you'd be happier.
I agree. Listen. All right, I'm switching careers for the 3rd time. This seems great.
Love it. And I've said this before, but like I have friends that are as obsessed with food as I am, and then I have a few that when I'm like, "Where do you want to go when you come visit me?" They don't care. They're not obsessed. They're not all about it, and it kills the vibe.
I know. I'm like, I need you to have an opinion, even if it's I don't want this, and this, right?
Or when we're eating, I need you to be excited about even just a little appetizer that we're ordering for the table. Be excited.
I need
so this is actually, we're making this a food. A food stream. I hope everyone's okay with that.
Are we food bloggers now? I think that's what's happening. Like that's where we're at. But like honestly, if that's what the content that people want, let them have it. Like let them eat all the cakes, I guess.
Every single cake ever.
Well, I think that's what's the fun thing about content is like there's so many people on this planet, all with different tastes and preferences. And like if you make it, you will find someone who likes it. That period, the end. Like and I think that's what's so interesting about like this digital age. It was like, oh, how do I make digital content? Like it's just content. And in fact, it's just, I dare say, storytelling, which has been around since the beginning of time. And more especially in Texas, cowboy poetry. I introduced Holland to country music this last weekend.
Okay.
Like she has known about country. I'm like, no, you need like a primer in country music. So we went through like the 90s catalog, went through whatever. And she's like, these are really good stories. I'm like, I know. Like, welcome to country music. Like, really good storytelling can take any form, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
I love that so much because as a lot of the world is right now, I've just become a mega book girly. I always have been, and I've always loved reading, but recently I've like gotten way more into fiction than usual. And it's so interesting to me that we're all so obsessed with fiction. For some reason, there's stories, and I think it's because there's human elements that we can connect with, and it just dives us deeper into like aspects of life that we might not ever experience. Totally. There's something psychological there that is so appealing to us, and I think that's why like brands that are really good at storytelling or that have a really good just message that they're shooting out there, even if they're not saying it outright, you want to be a part of it because it's connecting with something inside of you on like a human level.
Yeah, I was like coaching someone yesterday who just, fortunately, she just went through a rebrand. And she sent me, her website was like, take a look at this, let me know what you think. And I was like, I still don't know what you do. Like that's a fundamental problem. And so as we got to talking about it, I said, here's the deal. If even you are describing some kind of therapy, it's like, she's not a therapist, but it's like somewhere between like life coach, accountability partner, doula sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like holistic health kind of coach. So I was like, if you're having a hard time defining it, then don't define you, define who you're looking for. So capture that human element. Instead of making you the hero of the story, make your potential customer the hero of their own story.
Love.
And that will resonate with them, like on a human level. Like if you can describe the problem they're having so well that they're like, oh my gosh, she gets it. They don't even care what you're offering. They will come to you naturally. Like that's that like inherent human nature kind of thing that comes with like any type of human. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Any human saying anything about the human experience is going to resonate with another human. And this is like, I just came off the tail end of like a full day AI conference, and like the keynote speaker at the top, she framed the whole thing in like, how does AI help us get to a human connection faster? Like, how does it move through the minutia, the logistics, the whatever, so that humans can connect with humans? Because that's what's going to move the needle. And I was like, yeah, crushing it.
Interesting.
I know, right?
Well, I'm so curious what she had to say around that, because so much when you hear AI, people just hound on it for taking away human connection.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send you her book. She's president and CEO of the Berkman Method, or it's called the Berkman Method, but Berkman International. And they do like team building and personality kind of like assessments. It's not like a personality type, but it's just like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you communicate? How do you what are your motivations? Kind of like getting to that. Yeah. So it's fascinating stuff. I'll send it to you. That's great.
I love it. Please do.
Yeah. But yeah, I one of my reasons I wanted to talk to you today was like, I love that you and I are both very active on social, but also like came from print magazines. Yeah. Like people have been telling me since I started in print magazines that magazines are dead. I was like, I don't know. I launched a profitable magazine within the first 3 issues in the year that print was declared dead for the 10 millionth time. So I don't know what the deal is, because, and the key to success was really like, I spent at least 4 or 5 hours a day just calling yacht clubs. There's a luxury boating magazine on the Great Lakes. Yeah. So I called every single yacht club around the Great Lakes and talked to the membership directors like, listen, I want to talk to the guy who's at the end of the bar telling stories. Like he never leaves. He's always there. You know who he is. Every yacht club has one. I want to talk to him and I want to see what's up. And so then we put like real stories from real boaters in this magazine. And that was like the core of the feature well. And people could not get enough of it. And even though they were talking about a boat from like the 70s, that brand still exists. So the boat manufacturers reach out to us and be like, hey, we love this like legacy heritage thing you're going with. Like, can we buy a couple pages? I was like, even better, you can buy a couple pages and a whole digital package. And they were like, okay, sure.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. It was amazing. And it got down to this thing is like, it's a good story. Like it's a real person having a real experience, and it's a good story. And we gave it a platform that was never ever going to have otherwise. Right. Yeah. And that's what the people in the Great Lakes resonated with. Like they have a deep heritage of boating and a deep heritage of whatever. And like, it's aspirational. Like every single guy and woman, every single person buying a new boat has the like heritage of like, oh, their mom and dad owned this kind of boat, or their grandpa took them out boating or something like that. It's like, oh, it was incredible. Like,
I love that so much, because it's like, you're not selling the boat. You're not telling a story of this is how it was built. This is when it was built. This was the idea that brought like the design together, because that's a snooze fest. Yeah. But when you get a story and memories attached to human beings, you're going to eat that up.
Totally.
I love that.
And I think that's what I love about Business Q is like, you're really diving into like the stories of how businesses were founded. Like what's going on here? Not just like, how's the business work or what's the product, but like, who are you? And like, how did you show up in Utah Valley and get to this point? Cause like, I don't know that many people know this, but like Utah, and specifically Utah Valley, is like kind of a hotbed for entrepreneurs. It's probably got, last I checked, this was a few years ago, so don't email me, everybody. But like, it's like produces more startups than any other place in the country by like.
I think that's probably still pretty accurate.
Okay, it's crazy. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. I don't know what it is exactly, but yeah, like we're called Silicon Slopes here, which is very adjacent to Silicon Valley. And there's just this energy and you hear a lot. It's because like we're right next to BYU and UVU, and then the University of Utah isn't far down the road either. Like we're really surrounded by all these universities and people want to be in tech. Like there's just a huge boom in tech, I think, and there's a lot of talent around it. And people, I think because there are so many fresh people with fresh ideas, it really creates this like garden area for a lot of cool thoughts to come together with people that are excited about it, that are actually going to act and make these things happen. And I think that's why like startups are just blooming everywhere. People are just so hyped about ideas and making them happen.
That's so fun. And I feel like San Francisco probably used to be that way maybe 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But even 10 years ago, I had a friend who was like, yeah, I'm going to apply for Google because I want to work at a startup. And I'm like, Google hasn't been a startup in a few decades now, babe. Like it is enterprise. It's the epitome of corporate America. I don't care how many call tables they still have on the floor. Like it's not a startup. So I feel like maybe in Utah, the like overhead, like startup costs of just like, okay, can we break into that high-end VC money is probably a lower threshold, right? Like you've got good ideas who can make it happen, and you've got some money that's willing to be put around, right?
Yeah, and investors that are just really, really active. I mean, I couldn't tell you stats on like how much they're actually giving to startups, but I can tell you that they're very active. There are a ton of pitch events happening every week. I swear I get invited to one like every other week. People just care. They care about each other. It's a really supportive community too. And it's excited, it's supportive, and it's active. And I think that that's a really, really good foundation for startups.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've got a couple organizations here in Houston that are trying to like court startup people. You know what I mean? Because like Houston's so old school, and it's so oil and gas, and it's so corporate America. Like we have what accounting firms like to call super majors. So like Chevron, ConocoPhillips, BP, you know what I mean? Like Exxon are all here, and they've been big businesses for a long time, and good luck trying to move them, right? So like you end up either working for them or you're working for any of the support systems, any of the B2B businesses, or you work in the medical field, or you work at a restaurant. That's it. Like we're really good at museums and restaurants, and then like medical and oil. That's it. So trying to find the middle of like new businesses is really difficult. And there's a whole bunch that like, you know, a whole bunch of this is happening in Austin, but Austin's kind of doing the San Francisco thing of like too many people, like Facebook moved in too quickly, I think, to make it a real nice like incubator for, you know, startups. But so like the money's kind of all flowing to more established businesses. So Houston's trying to like capture some of that. But I think it's pretty difficult, frankly, because we don't have the like, I don't know, the spirit of the thing. You know what I mean? Like we've just been so enterprise for so long that like it's hard to kind of break out of that mentality and find like, you know, I think they're doing good stuff, but it's just like, I think it's not taking off as much as it has in Utah because there's like not as big of a hole in the market, or there's like an attitude towards that doesn't exist, that might exist in Utah, right? We've got this kind of like pioneering spirit going on. I feel like we don't have that. We have old school oil money spirit going on here.
No pun on pioneer spirit in Utah.
That's great. Well, what are you guys working on at Business Q? What's coming up in the latest issue? Give me a sneak peek.
Yeah, right now we are working on female founders.
No, yes. That was not even prompted. I love live. That's why Holland hates live, because she's like, I don't know what she's gonna say. I'm like, this is what I love about it. I don't know what she's gonna say.
It's so fun. It's really great. So the one that we just did, it's awesome, but it's exhausting for us because it's the 30 fastest growing companies, 10 economic engines, and 10 startups to watch.
Wow.
And as you know, like in the magazine world, you're working 4 months ahead.
Yeah.
So it's weird because in June, you're kind of living in October.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And I think that's why the years feel like they go by so fast because I'm like
Mhm.
living 2 seasons at one all the
Yeah,
time.
all the time. Like I
It's
walk
wild.
outside and I'm like, oh, it's hot still. Like
Yes,
I'm in the mood
honestly.
for a pumpkin spice latte. What happened?
I know. But so it's really fun coming off of UV50 is what we call that one with all those companies because it's what I really love about UV50 is it really is documenting like a history book of
Mm.
Utah Valley's business and economic growth
Mhm.
because we've been doing this one, I want to say 2008 is when UV50 started.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
So for less, I'm really bad at math, especially on.
I refuse to do math in my head. So
No,
20-ish years.
so around 20 years. Um, we've been just documenting these fastest growing companies, and it's cool to see the ones that will move from the fastest growing companies to like economic engines that have
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of employees and billions of revenue. And then it's interesting because like some of the startups we choose, they don't move on to another list, and some do really, really well. So we like try to predict, but no one can
Sure.
completely
So many
accurately.
variables, but cool.
No, right. But so it's fun coming into female founders now because while that's very focused on the company and like stats and things like that, now it's more tell me about like the hard thing that you went through that prompted you to start a hot chocolate business. Have
Yeah.
you heard of Perk Energy?
No, what is that?
Um, it's they call it a hug in a mug. So they have like over 25 flavors. They create caffeine and then magnesium flavored drinks that are
Okay.
mostly like coffee or hot chocolate inspired. And they just I don't know if I'm allowed to announce what I was about to say. They just had a roadshow in Costco and
Got
it
it.
went well.
Great. Okay. Noted.
Um,
NDA. Sorry, everybody.
that's public on their social media, so I don't think I
Great.
said anything.
Okay, great.
Anyway, so it's just really fun because getting to know all of these women that the stat that I read recently was that only 16% of founders in Utah are females.
Wow.
And they are so powerful. And I think a lot of the times men might think, oh, all the women are just starting spas and like makeup companies and things like that. No, we've got someone that started an accounting firm because she wanted moms to be able to work from home. And a window company that's been going
Wow.
since 89 and she just runs it completely by herself. She's incredible.
Wow.
So I think that it's just really fun to dive into all of their stories and tell another story of the side of Utah. And it's not just the tech, it's not just the men running the tech, it's the ladies that are really killing
Yeah.
it and being moms a lot of the same time too.
That's incredible. I mean, the women that I know in Utah are also impeccable. I feel like Studio McGee is in Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had a Netflix special, interior design, all kinds of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Pack Tax, which is a tax firm up in North Ogden, and like franchising is run by a friend of mine, Christy Ashworth Pack,
Okay.
who just like same thing. She's like she's got her CPA and she wanted to travel the world and like be a mom, and she's like, and how do I make money to fund those two things?
Right.
I know how to do taxes. Great, let's do that. So yeah, it's just like it's the coolest stuff. I feel like is it Utah Valley Magazine run by a woman? Yeah.
Yeah. So our boss is Jeanette Bennett.
Yeah. I was like, hang on, this is ringing a bell somewhere.
Yes, which is so cool. So she started it when she was 25, I want to say.
Wow. Okay.
And I think Utah Valley Magazine was the first one that they started, and it had the Ashtons that started Thanksgiving Point was the first cover.
Cool.
And look at Thanksgiving Point now, like
Yeah.
they're working on creating a science and tech center for kids too.
Yeah. They just redid the butterfly exhibit. Loved it.
Yeah. So it's so fun. So it's cool because, like you said, a lot of people will say that print magazines are dead, but also it's kind of vintage in a cool way that it's a physical way to keep track of a history of a community.
Yeah, because 2008, man, that was the time that most big businesses that we know today were started in 2008, right after the recession. Like, just
right.
Okay, and scramble. The crazy thing that happened in Houston is like government shut down, and that meant everyone at NASA was furloughed, right?
Yeah.
And so they were sent home. They couldn't work, and every single one of them, all these engineers, were like, "Oh, I've been wanting to start a cupcake business, no joke, a mechanic shop, no joke, like there were a couple other innovation kind of things, like, but I just haven't had the time." And then like 10 years later, the Houston Chronicle did a follow-up story. Like, hey, all of these NASA engineers that were furloughed and suddenly had time in their life to like go do the thing they were really passionate about, where are they? Not a single one of those businesses failed. They're still out there, still doing great things. And they're kind of these businesses that you think have been around for a while until you mark that like, oh no, it was the 2008 to 2010 like government shutdown space in which this was started. Like, like imagine the brightest minds on earth finally given the like space to do what they want. And I think that's the story of women everywhere. It's like, okay, yep, I've done the thing. I got married, I had kids, and now they're like in high school. So what's left? What else am I gonna do? And it's no longer like, I don't know, I think my mom's generation, I've got a couple aunts that were like, yeah, after my kids like got into high school, I started like arranging flowers, local floral shop, or I started like, just taking a couple extra shifts at the nursery or whatever, right? But I feel like our generation of women is like, no, I'm gonna go start a flower shop. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go take over the world over here, because there's a perception that you have so much more life left to live, and I support it. I'm like, let's go. Like, that means more content for me.
Truly. And it's also so impressive. So you're talking about the recession in 2008 when I was a baby. Just kidding. I was like, I don't know.
I was in college. Let's not talk about it.
Let's not talk about it. We're all the same age here. But now the story that we're telling, it's, I started around COVID time.
Yeah, interesting.
When manufacturers were like, you could not get in contact with anybody and all these things, and all these companies that are still pushing through and are continuing to do well. So like we're having another pivotal moment like that, where these companies are still overcoming a really, really difficult economic situation.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what we're not doing math, but let's say 10 years from now issue looks like.
The amount of times we've tried to do math in this and have said, hold on, we're communications girls.
The best part is like, I have a supercomputer in my hand. I'm not going to bother with it. It's not a thing.
But yeah, it's so true. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
To like which ones continue to come out on top. And I don't know. It's just really cool. And I'm just rooting for all of them because they're all doing their best. Entrepreneurs. Yeah. It's so funny. I have to say, here's a little bit of story of how I got into Business Q. So I interned here during college, and then they reached out to me to come on full-time when I graduated. Hallelujah. Thank you that I didn't have to go through the job search.
Yeah, right. You're welcome.
Experience it at some point.
We'll be here.
Anyway, so I started like just writing for Utah Valley Magazine, which it's not like difficult writing, right? It's family lifestyle. It's telling cool stories from around the valley. So Business Q felt intimidating to me because how am I, a 26-year-old girl, supposed to go talk to CEOs about this empire that they've built?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fair question.
So when I came on, we lost our Business Q editor. She went and found a new job. And so my boss brought me in, and she was about to take a step back to like help more with Thanksgiving Point and stuff. And she's like, "Hey, I'm basically going to need you to be a managing editor of either Utah Valley Magazine or Business Q. Which would you choose?" And there was kind of that part in me that's like, I should choose the hard thing and say Business Q. I didn't.
Okay. Plot twist. I'm excited.
I was like, I'm new in my career. Let me choose the easy thing, Utah Valley Magazine. And so I told her that. And then a few days later, she goes, "You're going to be the managing editor of Business Q." So exciting.
Like, no, back up. Challenge needs to be accepted. That's what we're doing.
Oh, but I said, I guess I'm supposed to do hard things with my life. I guess I'll do it, whatever.
Amazing.
So there's me starting with like, I had a LinkedIn, but I had never done anything with it and didn't know anyone. I only knew the names that were on the pages of the magazine and had no like actual connections myself. So it felt so intimidating, but it was really cool to dive into this world and like build confidence and realize I don't have to be an entrepreneur to talk to people about their entrepreneurial journeys. I don't have to be a CEO to ask them the hard things that they've gone through to get to where they are today. And so it's been so fun. But I think where I was going with that point was that before all of this, I thought it would be so cool to be an entrepreneur someday. Like, I'm an ambitious girl. I would totally go for that. No. Now that I've interviewed hundreds of people, actually, I think that I feel the opposite. And I would like to work for the man for the rest of my life.
I see this meme every once in a while that's like apologies to all the suffragettes. What I really want is to marry rich. I like this having your own job thing, not for me. Let's take that back.
No, and I respect it so much. But that's the thing is like because I've divin, whatever the past tense is.
That's fine.
A writer who doesn't even know grammar. They're so inspiring to me. But like I think entrepreneurship is really glorified a lot of the time and you just see the good parts. It's like, oh, you get your own hours and you get to do all this. But as I talk to people, they're like, no, this is the hardest thing that I've ever done. And every day I question why I'm doing it, but I have my why.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just been interesting to be able to talk to those kinds of people. There's an event that's happening in December out here called Failed Fest.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, and what the idea behind it is so many of the networking events out here, you're hearing just like a lot of the wins from people, which is great, and we need to learn from those too.
But
like, what the heck? The way that they got to those wins was screwing up 7,000 times. So let's hear about the screw ups. So I like the honesty. Like I'm really excited to hear about these companies that they're doing well now, but like the screw ups they got to get there.
Yeah, totally. Like I think that's I think you're 100% right with the why. Like it has to be a why that you really, really deep down in your core resonate with. Like I don't know if you can see it. This piece of paper up here.
Yes.
That is the back of a grocery bag framed. And that is where Ask Your Question started. And I know. And where it started was we had no paper. We were like, we're dumb. Why did we do a brainstorming session? Why did we bring paper? It's fine. But we had a grocery because we had snacks. So we had a grocery bag, obviously. Food. I know. The food is important. The food is what's happening. So we pulled it out and like on one side, we put it on the same table. Helen was sitting on one side, I was sitting on the other. She started writing down all her core values. And I wrote down all my core values. And then we circled the ones that overlap. Like, okay, somewhere in here is where our business, and we didn't even, it didn't start as we're going to start a podcast. It started as we want to build something together. We think there's something between us that like could make magic. So let's figure out what it is. So we start with our core values. Like, hey, overlapping these 6 core values, there's something in here. And then we're like, as we got into it, we realized like, okay, we're looking for ambitious women. We're looking for women who resonate on the same frequency that we do. We're looking for, we're tired of feeling alone in this. Like we know there are more women out there, but I don't see myself represented in media ever. Like, which is weird to say because we're half the population. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like what is happening? Like, so then we got down to like, we're looking for self-determination. We're looking for just helping women understand. It's like helping became one of those words, helping them understand that like the limiting beliefs are 100% internal. You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
Like, how do we deconstruct that, right? So, like, through a whole day of like talking that back and forth, we came out with like our company's brand statement, which Ask Your Wife is a derivative of this company. The main company we decided to start it's called VHMC, Vanessa Holland Media Company. Because like all our creativity is gone. But like we have like a 6-line brand statement for VHMC that is exactly that. And we use that as a litmus test for who we're hiring, how we're doing it, other projects we're taking on. So like whether it's, and Ask Your Wife is just one of them. We have 6 other projects in the wings waiting, like, yeah, I know, waiting to get started. Some of them are podcasts. Some of them are like workshops. Some of them are partnerships with like underserved communities, things like that. So it's one of those, like, we've got a lot going on, but the first thing we need to do is make sure this is successful. And like, we got together, like, it's like, talking about the fails, like we get together once a year to do Marcom planning, right? It's like, what's going on the year? Let's like plan it out, whatever. 2024, we had some big plans. I will tell you, next to none of them have happened because life has just like gotten in the way, but also like we understand our priorities, that like life is the most important thing that's happening. So like the stability of you, the stability of your family, the stability of your immediate family and your extended family, like for both of us, those things have like kind of taken a priority. So we went to ground on like, hey, what's the minimum viable product we can ship this year? It's the podcast. Great. Do you know what I mean? So like I would gladly put those fails up and be like, look, guys, our markup planning this year for 2025 was very easy. It was copy paste. It was like, oh, all the shit we didn't do this year, we're going to do it next year. And there's no scarcity in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know it's going to be successful, and I know the only thing it takes is attention, but sometimes that attention has to be taken up other places, and that's okay. And that's a core Ask Your Wife principle as well, is just like we call it fuck the timeline. Like, don't put any timeline pressure on you. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Because as soon as you put a timeline on it, something's going to happen where you can't meet that, right? Like, I want to be a director in 3 years. Okay. I don't know that being a director in 3 years is a good idea, because you haven't been through this iteration of a 3-year roadmap for 5, 6, 7 years, right? Like, one of my very good friends, and I think you may have talked to him, Zach Oates.
Yeah. We had his was one of the fastest growing companies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's probably his 10th company in the time that I've known him. Exactly. So yeah. So there's a lot of skeletons in that closet. You should go ask him about. Just like, hey, what was your first company? What was your first pitch at BYU? What was your first failed company? Whatever. I don't know if you've talked to Chase Murdoch too.
No, not yet.
Yeah, but he's on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So he's the same way. Like, he started the company he has right now, Taylor Cooperative. He started a version of that a long time ago, and then and built it up, and then sold it. And then it was like, there's some things I would change. So he tried it again and built a better version, sold it. And there's a few things I'd change again, built it, sold it. I think this is the 4th or 5th iteration of a custom suit company. But that's because, and he's like, this is the one I'm keeping because I've finally done it the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I love stuff like that. It's like, okay, improve on every iteration, improve on every, you'll appreciate this actually. This is a fun story that I tell people about failures. In the print world, as you know, when an issue comes off the press, the first issue that you look at, the first page you look at is always going to have a typo. It's so true.
My graphic designer told me the other day, I took one of our past magazines to him that had just come out, and I said, what do you think of how it looks on the page? It looks awesome. He goes, oh, I don't look at that for at least a week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you can't.
It's too fresh.
You're only going to see problems. Well, I was the first issue of, I was in charge of overhauling our editorial process to make sure that we had some checks and balances, that there weren't any mistakes going out on the page, whatever. Yeah. So I had 6 rounds of revision going on different ways. I had them painted, posted to the wall. I had hard copies sent around to people. We had grease pencils everywhere. It was amazing. It was an incredible process. You would love it. And I got so excited that I went down to the printer and I was like, I'm going to see the first issue come off the press because it's going to be perfect. And my pressman, who's I swear he's 97 if he's a day old. He was like, Vanessa, don't get your hopes up. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, this is pressman lore. And I was like, okay. He's like, the first issue off the press, the first page you look at will have a glaring typo. And I'm like, so just be prepared. And I was like, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. And then I pulled one off. I was like, God damn it. There it is. It's right there.
It's true.
It was a headline. I was like, it was a headline. It was awful.
Headline.
It was awful. It was awful. I was like, so he just laughed and I'm crying on the press floor. It's fine. I'm just
because at least if it's in the text, then it's hidden. But if it's in a headline, everyone's seeing that. Oh,
don't worry. I printed a whole article once where Toronto was spelled wrong. It was Toranato. I was like, no, it's fine.
Go on.
So it's just one of those you're going to fail.
Yeah.
That accept it. But also if it's something you can learn from and improve on every iteration, there's going to be a typo in the book. But guess what? The best part of magazine publishing is you get another issue next month to right the wrong. So eventually you will run out of wrongs to right. That's the idea.
And guess what? That's existence. That's literally being a human being. So why would the work world be any different?
Yeah,
it's weird that we expect perfection from ourselves when all that we are a bunch of humans that we're just really good at screwing up and then screwing up better.
Agreed. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Holland and I watched the Martha documentary on Netflix the other day.
I heard about it. Okay.
Oh man, it's so good. You should watch it. Because it goes on this path of kind of characterizing her as this perfectionist. And all I see is a woman with very high standards. Mm. And the ability to pivot. Did you know she worked on Wall Street? She was like a trader. She's making people a lot of money. And then something happened in the market that she couldn't control. And so they didn't characterize it like this, but the way that I interpreted it is she doesn't like things that are out of her control. So she's gonna go to ground and get out of the stock market where she can't control all the variables and get down to something she can control the variables for. Building an absolute fucking empire. Do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, Martha. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. It was awesome. I was like, she's such an inspiration. She's such a moment. Like, yeah. And it's just one of those, like, you look at all the things she did that she tried and failed at, and then she's like, okay, we're going to just make this tweak or this pivot or this whatever. And like, and she goes on to like, there's some scene where she's like critiquing somebody's way of boning fish. And I'm like, yeah, maybe she's a hard ass, but like she's boned that fish so many times and she's failed at it so many times. She's figured out the best way to do it. So why don't you just let her tell you so you don't have to learn the hard way? Totally. You know what I mean? Like, I love that.
I love that so much. Well, and it makes me curious. Like, tell me the iterations that Ask Your Work Wife, the podcast itself has gone through. Like, yeah, because we're listening and it always sounds smooth and wonderful and beautiful. But what's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about?
Yeah. Okay. This is a solid question. So one, we're here in the studio. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the recording studio.
Okay.
And there's lights back there. That's merch that I have yet to photograph. It's fine. That's on my list. But it started out as a show. It started out, we were like, we have to start with video.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. We have not yet gotten to video for every episode. So that right there, like, it's the things you don't point out, I think, that are maybe the biggest failures. So it started as a show of just like sitting on the couch talking to each other a little bit like this. And then like, when you have an idea, follow us out to go find the person to like do the thing. Like, oh, like we'll be talking about something like, you know who does this really well? My friend Kim. Okay, let's go find Kim. And then it was like reality show almost. Like just take the camera out the door and let's go find Kim and talk to Kim wherever she's at.
Fun. I love it.
I know. We do not have the budget for that.
That's lots of time too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, can we be a Kardashian though? That would be ideal. Like, you know what I mean? It was awesome. So that was number one. They were like, all right, if we can't have video off the bat, we need to make sure that we like, it became like, all right, what's the most broadest reaching, easiest lift thing to do? And that became podcasting. And so then we're like, okay, do we rent out a studio? Do we buy equipment? Do we whatever? We self-taught ourselves how to do all of this. And now we're in the mode of like teaching people how to do this. Like we presented at a meeting of Pod Houston, which is a group of like 200 podcasters in Houston, on how to like do production cycles. And like, it was so interesting for Holland to go back through like how she's produced the podcast so we settled on podcasting. It was like, how do we produce it? And it was interesting for her to go back through it and realize like, oh yeah, she's got probably 6 different production calendars because like the first one was like, okay, but then it ran into a problem. And then the second one was like, okay, we need to add this layer of consideration. And that worked for like a few months. And then, nope, we need to add this layer of consideration. So like she just walked everybody through, like it started easy and now it's like super complicated, but it works better. And she's like, yeah, I think that's the most fascinating thing. I'll have to send you the recording of it. Yes. It's actually, if you go to askyourwife.com/secrets, I know there's a swipe file of like all the kind of things we've done. I'm about to upload the video of that presentation, but her presentation of like how to do a podcasting calendar and like the most recent iteration of that calendar is on there.
Okay. So cool. Yeah. I love it. It's like a secret menu, but for your business.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So like from the production side, like how she swagged production between like like a recording day versus an editing day versus are we doing pickups versus whatever. That's been like 6 iterations, right, in and of themselves. Whether we went at first, she wanted to script the podcast, and I was like, I'm not memorizing a script. So like I tried it exactly once and she was like, I hate this. I was like, I tried it for you. There was one time we have one episode that we recorded that's never seen the light of day because like it ended up being like a ranting episode, not anything productive. And so like it like I could feel it about halfway through where I was just like being so mean about this like situation that my friend was in to her. You know what I mean? I was like, this is a question from a real friend. And I was like, I think she's like got this bass backwards and like, I want to talk about it. And she's like, okay. And then it ended up just being like the weirdest, like not the right spirit. So we listened to it and we were just like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And so like that got scrapped. I think Holland's even deleted it. And so then at that point we had to make some guidelines like, okay, we want every episode of Ask Your Wife to be productive, to be immediately actionable, and to be positive and uplifting. Like, right? So like that meant like, and there are questions that we come to our desk today that are like, my response to her is going to be bitchy. So we're not answering that question. Do you know what I mean? Like,
interesting. Yeah.
we're just not engaging in that. You know what I mean? So
And it's possible that you like might not have come up with those guidelines if you hadn't have done that episode.
totally. Yeah. It's like you have to go through the motion first before you understand what feels bad about it. Like I'm conducting a community choir for a Christmas concert right now. And
Adorable.
right. It's like in my spare time. And like I had a thought about how I wanted how loud I wanted the choir to be at a certain point, but the style of music, it's not designed to be that way. It's designed to be very lyrical and very archy. It's very Victorian, very Dickens-esque Christmas Carol kind of thing. Yeah. And so like I was like trying to get the choir to do something the music wasn't letting them do. And then I was like, okay. And they had kind of felt it too. And so all of us were like, something's wrong here, but we don't know what it is. So like, all right, let's go back through it, but I will pay attention to that specific section. And then as they went through and I tried to get them to crescendo on it, I realized like, oh, the music is not moving that direction. So we're fighting something. So how do we change that? But it wasn't until I paid attention to it, like I came at it from like, okay, we're going to try this again, just the same way we did it. And let's try to see what's wrong before you can like feel and identify the problem. I 100% agree with it. Sometimes you have to go through the motion. You have to start the business. You have to fail at the business. You have to try the business again before you're like, okay, this is the vibe and this is not the vibe. And this is where we're going to go from here, you know?
I love that so much that you're like, the music isn't going in that direction. Because so with the magazine, like a year ago, we had the idea to start a newsletter, which, we probably should have done forever ago, but every company only has so much bandwidth and we just do what we can. Again, prioritize. Anyway, it wasn't the right time. And so I had the sales team bring us in like a week ago and say, hey, our advertisers are really looking for like some more digital ways to advertise and things like that. I know we have social media, but what else can we do? And I'm like, actually, I already have a template of a newsletter created. I have more than a month's worth of pieces actually written. Like it's ready to go. So you can take this example to your advertisers and see what they think and let's go with it. So it's cool because like now we're launching it, but it wasn't the right time. So everyone has to be aligned and like the environment just has to be right for it. Everyone has to be on the same page. You can't force something to happen when it's not ready to go.
Totally. And I think like we start out this year. So like the next iteration for Ask Your Wife has been like, we need to add video to every episode. And not necessarily here's a secret for marketing, everybody, not necessarily for the long form of it. I don't need a long form video podcast episode. I super don't. If you're making those, unless you're Joe Rogan, it's not really working. But what I need are these like short clips of Holland and I like speaking truth to go into a vertical short form video, right? Yep. I want that only to exist on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels, right? So we like set up a way to do that. I have a friend, Katie Baldwin in LA, who like works in like really big studios and only does their social content. She's very good at it. She's a friend of mine from college, from BYU. And she's like, yep, I can totally do that. This is the price per episode, whatever. We got like 3 episodes recorded and then ran into some technological issues. And then I just like let it sit. I was like, it's not something I can solve right now, because what it came down to is like, we bought iPhone 14s. So they have like the nice cameras in it, whatever, like you can shoot in 4K ProRes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But the problem was you still have FireWire down at the bottom. So like, I still have to deal with like the cloud. I have to deal with the dongle. I have to deal with like whatever. Okay. So I just like let it, I couldn't go directly to like a hard drive or something. Right. I just like let it sit. And then at end of the summer, when the iPhone 15 came out, they announced that like you could on a 15, they changed this to USB-C, so you could film directly to a hard drive. And I was like, okay, maybe the answer is like upgrading the 15s. And then I because life got in the way, I lived in Paris for like a month this summer. It was fantastic. I just never got around to it. By the time I got back, they upgraded the software in the 14s too, so you could do the same thing. So I was like, now's the time, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like sometimes you just got to let it sit. You're like, there's something blocking this.
Yes.
It's fine. Don't try to break through it. Just let it go and see if it resolves itself. And it super did. And I was like,
absolutely.
I don't have to buy 2 new phones. I don't have to deal with anything else. And I can go directly from this to a hard drive without having to go through the cloud. Great. Done.
Awesome. And that's such an easier fix than having to go about all the other steps you would
Oh my
have had to
gosh.
take had you pushed and like forced yourself to do it earlier.
Totally. There'd be 6 different things hanging off this phone. Now there's just one, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's sometimes a failure is not a failure. It's just let's just hang out. Let's see if this problem resolves itself. And there should be no scarcity around it. Like, oh my God, if I don't do this thing right now, then it's never going to happen. That's not accurate. Like,
totally.
I think being in Utah, I think you'll resonate with this. I served a mission in Taiwan, and I was in one area for 10 months for 7 transfers, which is like the bulk of a sister missionary length of her service. But because of that, I had no short-term or problems. So like there are a lot of missionaries who came in like, if this person doesn't get baptized within the 6 weeks that I'm here, their eternal soul is damned. And you're like, calm down first of all.
Everyone chill.
Yeah. The amount of like audacity it takes for you to think that you're the end of the world for them, I don't think so. So like I saw people even within 10 months, which we now as like adults in corporate America, like that's such a short amount of time. Like, right. I saw people like go from being the really excited president to being less active, to coming back to activity, to being the stake president, like to being the really excited stake president within 10 months. Yeah. So like just deal with the ebbs and flows. There's no scarcity there. A failure is not a failure. It's an opportunity to learn or an opportunity to wait. That's what I think.
Have you always had that perspective, or did you have to kind of learn that?
No. Oh, I had to learn that. I diagnosed perfectionist. I was in second grade. I had to take a battery of like IQ tests because I was like super chatty in school. And my second grade teacher, Mrs. Tuttle at Westside Elementary in Springville, she's like, oh, Vanessa like needs to be diagnosed ADHD and we need to like put her on some meds and da, da, da. My dad was like, I don't think so, but okay. Like she sits with me every Saturday morning and reads me the newspaper, and this is second grade. Yeah. So I was like, sure, fine. So they brought in the district psychologist. I was so pleased. I was like, memory games, fun test. This is great. And so like the psychologist came back. She's like, turns out she's just bored in your class because she's finishing her work faster than anybody else and she just wants to talk. She's a goddamn extrovert. That's what happened. I'm like, thank you. Still the same. But she's like, I will tell you on a test, like it took her 2 or 3 hours to take this test because she would not move on from a problem until she was 100% sure the answer. So she'd just sit there and stare at it for like half an hour. Wow. So like, yeah. So that was me in second grade. And there's still ways that like, I see that manifest in my life where I'm like, okay, this is me in second grade. I need to like snap out of it. So like I worked with a therapist my freshman year of college where this manifested itself really poorly was freshman year of college. Like worked with a therapist, like recognize that like spiral and how to get out of it. Like here's how to recognize it before it's happening. And here's how to get out of it while it's happening and even stop it before it starts happening. So like therapy is for everyone. That's what I say. And like perfectionism is a real thing. And it like can be detrimental to your forward progress if you let it, but it doesn't have to.
Totally. I love that. I heard the other day, it sounds so simple, but it's so true that the only way that we got to where we are today is because of our failures.
Yeah, totally.
And that sounds like some stupid little poster on a wall, but I guess it just hit me different that I was like, wait a second. In relationships, in like family relationships, in work, the only reason that I am the way that I am is because I tripped and I learned from that trip. Yeah, totally. And like made adjustments to act differently next time. Yeah, 100%. Like I think the 90s motivational poster is something like rubber was an accident. Do you know what I mean? And like your accidents can become cool too. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I agree with you. This is why when people ask me, like in interview situations, I've been asked like, what's your biggest regret? And I'm like, and it could be from your life if it's like a magazine, or if it can be like in your last role, is there anything you regret? I was like, I regret nothing because I did the best I could with the information I had at the time. Now that I know better, I will do better, right? Like, or that I know more, I will like have a real choice now. Would I have chosen the same thing or would I have chosen a different path? I don't know. But like, I wouldn't be given the choice now if I hadn't made the choice in the past. So absolutely. Yeah. No regrets. Like, and I love that perspective too, because having that concept of like, I have so many regrets and I'm a failure and I suck. There's nothing productive about that.
No, not at all. And it's all in here.
Yeah, it's so detrimental. So if you can just approach it with like having grace for yourself and like you said, I know better for next time,
Mhm.
you're going to make more powerful decisions too, and you're going to be more empowered.
Yes. 100%. I've been watching, not actually watching, but watching through social media, Dancing with the Stars.
Okay.
And like the final two competitors are these two Olympians, right? Like the guy from gymnastics and Ilona Mar, whom I love from rugby.
Yes, she's wonderful.
She's amazing. I saw her play in Paris. She's incredible. She's such a beast. Yeah.
Wow.
But like it's the coolest. But like it's so interesting to like realize like, yeah, there's a reason those two have made it through the end because they know how to practice. And what that means is they know how to fail and they know how to like learn and they know how to adjust and they like won't stop. Like that's what makes them Olympians. Everyone else has this potential, but like, are you really exercising it to the best of its ability? I don't know, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Anyway.
And lucky you in Paris, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, Paris is incredible. I have my sister and I decided to take disposable cameras with us. These are still decision. Right? These are still sitting here. And so I have like 4 from when my sister and I went, and then I have like 2 from when I went a couple weeks later to see my cousin compete in the Paralympics. And I need to go get them developed. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go get them. I think that's a this week project. So we can like share them over Thanksgiving.
It'll be so fun to see them. When I went to Japan, I did the same thing and I took mine and then realized, oh, actually you still have to use some concept of photography skills still because mine turned out really good.
We'll buy a new one and let's go back to Japan. That's the answer. Yeah.
Anyone watching this, you're welcome to join us. Let's go. Let's go together.
100%. Also, yeah, like, babe, please, you, me, food in Japan. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, cool. Tell me where people can find you and find the magazine and all that, and then we'll get back to our day.
Yeah. LinkedIn, it's just the Utah Valley Business Q. And then my name's Bailee Merril.
With a lot of E's and a lot of L's and a lot of R's is what I've realized.
Yes, correct. Lots of double letters there. And then, yeah, I think that would be the best place. And then Instagram, our business account is UVBIZQ. UVBizQ.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that.
So watch for the female founders. There are going to be some fun stories. Those will come out like in about a month.
Okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. And I was like, I need to use that as a list of people to talk to on LinkedIn Live. Honestly. Oh, I was like, thanks, Bailee, for creating this list for me.
I would, yes, and I can connect you with anyone that you want me to. I would love
that. Okay, perfect. All right, well, I will talk to you later, I'm sure. And so good. Love you.
Okay, you're the best. Everyone have the best day ever. And Vanessa, my pal, thank you.
Yay.
See you.
Bye.